So there's this video making the rounds that's making a pretty huge claim that mass deportations are directly causing a historic drop in crime all across America. It's a really bold argument, so today we're going to break down exactly what the creator, Tyson Dela Cruz, is saying step by step to see how he connects those dots.
At the heart of this whole thing is this one really staggering number, a 20% drop in murders in just a single year. The video calls it the sharpest decline in U.S. history. Wow, that is a dramatic claim. So the question is, what does the video say is behind it? To really dig into this, we're going to follow the video's logic through four main parts. First, we'll look at the data it uses to back up this historic crime drop. Then, we'll explore the connection it makes directly to deportation. After that, we'll see what it says about a supposed economic boom. And finally, we'll get into the claim that there's a media blackout on this whole story.
All right, let's dive right into Section 1, the claim. First, we just need to get our heads around the core idea here, that the U.S. is experiencing this absolutely unprecedented drop in crime right now.
So, according to the source, and it says this data comes from over 500 police departments, it's not just murders that are way down. The video also claims there are significant drops in things like car thefts, aggravated assaults, and robberies compared to last year. The argument is that this isn't a small blip, it's a really broad and substantial trend.
To make this point even more real, the video zooms in on New York City. And what's wild here are the specifics. It points out that just for November 2025, murders were down almost 47% from the year before, only 16 recorded. It also claims transit crime fell by nearly a quarter, which would make the subway system the safest it's been in recorded history if you don't count the pandemic years. And this quote, well, it gets right to the heart of the video's entire thesis. See, the creator isn't just showing us data. He's drawing a straight line from specific policies to these falling crime rates. This cause and effect claim is really the most crucial part of his argument, so let's see how he tries to build that case. Which brings us right to Section 2, the cause. How exactly does the video connect the crime stats to immigration policy? Well, it points to some very specific actions by law enforcement. The source lays out these numbers from just a 3-month span as direct evidence. It claims 8,700 violent criminals were arrested, 2,200 firearms were seized, and get this, 421 kilograms of fentanyl were taken off the streets. Now, to put that last number into perspective, the video actually calculates that as enough to cause 55 million potential deaths. It uses these figures to paint a really clear picture. You remove these threats and communities get safer.
And to kind of bolster this idea that the public is actually behind these policies, the video highlights this number, 221,000. That's how many Americans it claims have applied to work for ICE. The source's argument is that, while the agency gets a lot of criticism from some corners, hundreds of thousands of Americans apparently want to be a part of its mission.
But according to the video, it's not all just about enforcement. It also talks up a voluntary program. The source describes this app from Customs and Border Protection called CBP Home. The idea is that an undocumented immigrant, as long as they don't have a serious criminal record, can use the app, provide their info, get screened, and then get $3,000 to voluntarily go back to their home country. And to show just how massive this program supposedly is, the video points to this number. It claims that since March, 1.6 million people have already used this app to leave the country on their own. The source presents this as a really safe, highly effective policy that's having a huge impact. Okay, on to Section 3, the bonus. The video argues that the benefits here aren't just about public safety. It says they also spill over into the economy. The source paints a picture of a seriously booming economy. It points to a GDP growth rate of 4.3%, wages that are going up even after you factor in inflation, and gas prices that are plummeting. It even gives an example of $2.72 a gallon in South Florida. The whole argument is that this combo is putting more money right back into the pockets of working families.
So, after laying out all this data on crime and the economy, the video poses this really central question. If all of this is, objectively good news, why, it asks, is nobody in the mainstream media talking about it? And this question is a major pivot for the entire argument, turning it into a critique of the media itself.
And that brings us to our final section, the conflict. Here, we're going to unpack the video's whole explanation for this supposed media blackout. The way the video frames this is like a battle between two completely different stories. On one side, you have what it claims the media predicted would happen, total chaos, economic collapse. And on the other side, you have the reality it claims we're living in. Crime is down, the economy's up, and the country is safer. So why the silence? Well, the video offers up a few reasons. It argues that reporting this good news would basically destroy a narrative the media has been building for years. It would force them to admit that policies they fought against are actually working. And this is the big one, it would mean having to give credit to a political figure they've been heavily criticizing.
And this is the video's big closing statement. It completely reframes the debate. The source basically concludes, look, the data is settled. The real question now is about political and media accountability. It's a really provocative challenge that leaves the audience with a very definitive takeaway.
So as we wrap up this breakdown, it kind of leaves us with a bigger question to think about, no matter what the topic is. How does the way information gets presented to us, what gets included, what gets left out, what gets emphasized, how does all that ultimately shape our understanding of what success and failure even look like? Definitely something to chew on. Thanks for joining me.